Everyone, Wayne here, and I'm seeing some more incredibly disturbing headlines about the California Department of Food and Ag sweeping into people's homes and killing their companion animals. And the CDFA actually just released a letter that I'm looking at as well, a letter that they kind of issued to California families talking about how they are trying to relieve animal suffering and protect animal health. And to do so, they have to, quote unquote, euthanize potentially dozens, maybe hundreds, or eventually even thousands of people's pets, their companion animals across the entire state of California. And I wanted to just let people know this is happening in California and also point out how absurd the entire situation is, because not only are they doing this, but they're doing this to benefit a massive, abusive, corrupt industry, factory farming. And they're doing this claiming it's in the interest of the animals. And I think it's really important for us to know what's happening and understand how to stop it. So let me back up and explain what's happening. So every couple of years, there's some massive disease outbreak within the factory farming industry, and it gets all the farmers, and it's not even farmers, it's farm corporations, up in a big kind of fit, because they're all scared that one of these diseases will get into one of their farms and kill off all their animals. And right now, the disease that's spreading everywhere is called Newcastle. Newcastle is an avian disease that is incredibly infectious. And in a factory farm environment, when you have 10, 15, 20,000 birds in a single shed, 1 million, 2 million birds in a single facility, this disease spreads like wildfire because the animals are all immune compromised. They're stuffed into massive sheds where they can't even breathe without breathing onto another animal. And lo and behold, when a sickness gets into one of these facilities, it wipes out large numbers of animals. Now, this is already a dangerous disease. Don't get me wrong. Newcastle is very dangerous, but it's made much more dangerous by factory farming. In fact, factory farming is one of the greatest sources of disease across the nation and across the world. The World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control have all named factory farming and intensive animal confinement as the world's #1 threat to antibiotic resistance and disease. So if we're going to have another epidemic, like the epidemic that happened, I think it was 1917 or 1918, that killed 5% of the entire world's population, millions of people died. Frankly, human civilization was put at risk in the early 20th century because of a disease that came from a pig farm. There were all these pigs stuffed in the piggeries. They were all getting sick because they're confined, they're filthy, they're immunocompromised. And when a disease struck, it killed all of them. But unfortunately, in that case, not only did it kill the pigs, but it jumped to other animals, in particular to human beings as well. And it caused the great influenza epidemic of the early 20th century. And we're just waiting for something like that to happen again. But notwithstanding the fact that we know, and all scientists know, that it is the factory farms and the corporate animal ag facilities that are compromising public health and endangering both animals, human and non-human, the CDFA, the California Department of Food and Ag, and the government is blaming ordinary people who just happen to have chickens and turkeys as companion animals. And when they find a case of Newcastle in a community, what they're doing is they're rounding up all the chickens and turkeys and killing them all. They're sending government agents to your home. You don't have a choice in this. You don't have an opportunity to appeal. There's no right of due process. There's nothing you can do but allow them to come and kill the animals. And I'm just going to turn right around and show you some of the stories I'm seeing. I beg you to stop. Residents protest chicken slaughter over Newcastle, and you've got these videos and photos of these poor little kids who are just desperate to stop these agents from killing their own animals. And so if you're wondering how this could happen, and first of all, while it's happening to chickens now, it's very important to point out that this could apply to a dog or a cat as well. If the California Department of Food and Ag, if the government decides that there's a disease outbreak like rabies or something that's infecting a large number of animals within a particular radius, they can just swoop in and kill your dog. And you have no right to appeal that whatsoever. And many of you have probably had the experience of maybe your dog is bitten by a possum or by a raccoon or something like that. That happened to me once. They can demand a quarantine, they can seize your animal, they can kill your animal, all without any sort of due process rights on behalf of the animal, on behalf of your own family, to make sure that animal's protected. And the basic problem here is that animals are treated like things. So back when I was a legal scholar in 2006, 2007, I was working with one of the most prominent law professors in the world, Cass Sunstein. He's a professor at Harvard University. He's one of, I think, 18 university professors at Harvard. The university professors at Harvard are professors that basically a department in and of themselves. There's only 18 out of a faculty of probably a few thousand. They're the most distinguished and prestigious professors on the entire Harvard University campus. And Cass wrote about an issue that most ordinary Americans don't understand and that they need to understand, which is that under the law, animals have no legal standing. They're considered property and not legal persons. And what that means is, as property, they are subject to the rights of others, just like, this computer, for example, or this couch I'm sitting on. These are just things that I can use, I can sell, I can buy, I can break, I can destroy, I can burn if I'd like. This couch that I'm sitting on has no rights. It has no interests that are cognizable by the law. And if someone damages this property, while the government and the person who damaged the property might give me compensation for the property itself has no rights. It only has interests insofar as I have interest in the property itself. And this is the way animals are conceived of today. That if an animal is hurt, you cannot bring an action on behalf of the animals. You cannot resist the misconduct that's being inflicted on the animal. All you can do is say, I have a property interest in this animal. Please compensate me for the harm that's caused. And that's what's happening with these chickens. And it could happen to your dog or cat too. The best case scenario, if government agents come and try and round up your dog or cat and kill them, arguing the dog or cat has some disease or is a dangerous animal, or frankly, any reason, is it evidence in a criminal investigation? They could come into your house and say, we think you stole that dog. We're going to take that dog, kill the dog, and take the body and the necropsy as evidence to find out if you stole that dog, for example, from a lab or from a puppy mill. You have absolutely no rights to contest that other than to sue the government for the value of the animal, right? Which usually, you know, if you're talking about a chicken or a dog, maybe it's $100, maybe it's $200, maybe it's less than that, maybe it's zero. You know, maybe they don't give you anything. But this is what happens when an entire legal system is distorted to the point that living creatures are treated like things. They're not beings who have interests, who have rights. We all know, I mean, you watch a dog, you clearly can see the difference between a dog and a table. But the legal system makes no difference, which means if someone damages your dog or seizes your dog, it's no different than someone damaging or seizing your table, which usually means you can sue them, you can probably argue theft, but even theft is not going to be possible if there's a duly executed search warrant, if there's a regulation, if there's a promulgation by the state saying this animal belongs to the state for the purposes of this investigation. So, you know, the other bizarre thing about all this, of course, is that the industry is claiming that animal activists, pet owners, companion animal guardians, backyard chicken operations are the cause of the animals being swept up in Southern California, when 80% of all the antibiotics in this country are being used by factory farms, not by people who have chickens as companions, not by people who have a pig as their best friend who hangs out in their yard, but by massive industrial facilities that can find thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of animals in a single site. And the reason for that is quite simple. From time immemorial, whenever there's been a disease outbreak, whether it's an epidemic among the human population or among the non-human animal population, it's always caused by confinement. When you have lots of animals in the same place, when they're sick, when they're young, that's what causes disease, right? And yet somehow the CDFA has turned this on its head, refused to recognize the scientific facts that have been recognized by the Center for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, that factory farms and animal agricultural facilities are a source of disease. They're instead inflicting and blaming all of the biosecurity problems on ordinary people who happen to have animals. And this is part of a broader problem in American society, where today the largest corporations in the world have the most power and get away with egregious misconduct. The most horrible things can be done by Amazon, by Whole Foods, by Costco, by, you know, the fossil fuel companies. You know, if you went, for example, in a fossil fuel companies are routinely dumping oil and water and chemicals into drinking water reservoirs by the millions of gallons. And if you or I did this, we'd all be prosecuted, we'd be thrown in jail. And yet, when a big corporation does it, it's just considered business as usual because there's a lot of money at stake and a lot of political power. And the same is true in this case. A factory farm can cause tens of thousands of birds to die of horrible infections, diseases, and filth and stress. And it's just business as usual. It's just industry standard. We know that, you know, in egg farms, for example, 10% of the animals are going to die of some horrible disease. We know in poultry facilities, between 1 in 5 and 1 in 3 animals will die of some horrible infectious disease. We know in pig farms, by the industry's own statistics, 20% of the piglets will die, usually of horrible infectious diseases like pneumonia, like porcine epidemic diarrhea. These horrible diseases, African swine fever, which is killing off millions of pigs in China. We know these animals are dying by the industry's own records, yet instead of blaming the actual source of the problem, factory farming and animal agriculture, they blame people who are rescuing chickens, right? And we've seen this happen in DXC as well, where when Paul and Jason rescued a couple of chickens from a factory farm, even though there was no actual disease, there's no evidence that any animal, human or non-human, was harmed, there's no evidence there was any biosecurity violation at all, they tried to sue, in fact are trying, and unfortunately so far successfully trying, to hold Paul and Jason accountable for $331,000 in damage. $331,000 in damage for biosecurity risks, despite the fact there's no evidence of any contamination at all. Yet routinely we've seen one of the ironies of that particular investigation is the exact farm that charged them with a biosecurity risk 10 years previously had been implicated in a salmonella infection. They had been feeding our kids actual salmonella that could kill children, and that's killing the animals right now. And yet the biosecurity risk is being posed by Paul and Jason and ordinary people. And this is one area where, frankly, small-time backyard poultry operations and animal activists should be in alignment here. Because, I'm not saying that we should agree with small-time farmers at all, but the small backyard poultry operations, normally operated by people of color in low-income communities, are also being implicated by this, all to protect the poultry industry. And one of the saddest things about all this is when they're rounding up all these animals and killing off all these people's pets and companion animals, Annette, I think it's Annette Dunning, the chief vet of the state of California, has been unapologetic about saying, yeah, this has nothing to do with ethics or justice or morality or what's right. It has everything to do with protecting the poultry industry. They're just protecting the poultry industry. They're not even apologizing for it because they know it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And while that industry is shrinking, it's still a multi-billion-dollar industry going up against ordinary people who, when we're unorganized, when we're not connected, when we don't have solidarity with each other, don't have a lot of power. So what do we do about this? What do we do about the fact that animals don't have standing? From the law's perspective, they're treated like things. What do we do about the fact that the government could at any point just round up our dogs and cats and shoot them in the head, and we have no recourse whatsoever? We can't even appeal to a judge because the animal doesn't have any rights. Well, here's the thing. We need to organize, folks. We need to organize. From time immemorial, the only way to get legal change to happen, the only way to transform legal and political and moral systems is for people to come together, raise our voices, work together, and fight like hell. And that is what we're doing at the Animal Liberation Conference, which is happening in less than a week. It's starting in just a few days. And I'm hoping all of you can come there. If you can't, go to dxc.io/join, sign up to get alerts about all the live streams, all the social media and the mainstream media that's going to be coming out as we do historic actions, massive marches, direct actions, trainings, workshops, legendary speakers from the media and beyond. All of you can be there with us if you go to dxc.io/join. But if you can't join, one way you can chip in and support us and continuing to do this life-saving, muckraking work is consider becoming a member today. Because we're, just for the next week and a half, every new member of DXC, which means even just chipping in $1 a month, is generating $100 for us to do more trainings and more conferences like the Animal Liberation Conference. So again, you can share this live stream, click that share button, comment there sharing, and I see a lot of you watching and enjoying this and hearing this important information, but click that share button. Go to dxc.io/join and join up and follow the actions that will be unfolding at the ALC. And finally, consider becoming a monthly donor. Jennifer Lynn is a member. Thank you very much. Tyler Edward is sharing. Thank you very much, Tyler, for sharing. Tori Lentz is sharing. Shalom Lafakis is sending out the form, dxc.io/join. Appreciate all of you being a part of this live stream, sharing this live stream, and helping us get the word out. But this is scary stuff, folks. Your animal. Just imagine someone coming into your home, knocking on your door, and dragging your animal out and shooting her in the head. This could happen to you. And the only way for us to stop that is for us to build power in the entire animal rights movement. And to do that, we need your support. So Jonas is saying, I do love DXC, but I have no money. Jonas, even if you have $1, you can always cancel your monthly donation in the future. But if you have $1, go to dxc.io/member7, sign up, chip in that $1 a month, and we get $100. So everybody can become a member, and all of you watching, if you want to learn more things, if you want us to be able to continue doing this work, challenging the legal status of animals, making sure when people's animals are being threatened, when their companion animals are being threatened, making sure they know what they can do to resist this, then chip in today by becoming a member, because that is one simple and easy way beyond sharing this live stream that all of you can do that. So again, it's dxc.io/member7. I'm going to try and get at least 2 people to commit to becoming a member right now. So Jonas, I appreciate the support. I know you're saying you don't have a lot of financial security. If you can even chip in $1 one time, just go to dxc.io/member7, chip in $1, and we get $100, which means $100 goes to the animals. It goes to running conferences like the Animal Liberation Conference. It goes to investigations of both the government and animal abusing facilities, so more people can hear about what's happening. More people can hear that their own dogs and cats could be threatened by the frustrating, absurd, disgusting legal status of animals. So please consider chipping in. I'm hoping 2 people can step up. Got 37 people watching. If you're watching this right now, consider stepping up and becoming a member. Even $1 a month
is going to get us $100, and we can only do this for the next month, or the next week and a half, actually. It's just the next week and a half that we have this opportunity. And if you have a friend or family member who can chip in and become a member, now is the time to do that too. Ask one of your friends, can you chip in even $1 a month? $1 a month is all it takes, and we'll get $100. Michelle Sitaro just said she's joining. Thank you so much, Michelle. That is amazing. I'm so appreciative. You're joining $100 for the animals, which means we can pay for veterinary care, we can pay for video cameras, we can pay for SD cards. Norma Jean Daly is asking, can you repeat again where to join? Norma Jean, it is dxe.io/member7. dxe.io/member7. I think Shiloh's shared the link a couple times in the comments. Just look up at Shiloh Lafakis' comments. You can see the link to become a member. dxe.io/member7. Jennifer Lynn is saying everyone should donate at least $1 a month. You're right, Jennifer, and every bit does count. Even $1 a month. You know, $1 a month means we get $12 a year from you, and that $12 can go to buying a bag of feed for a chicken. And that feed has to come from somewhere. You know, we saved 37 chickens last year, 100 turkeys last year. It is enormously expensive to care for these animals, but these stories have immense power to change the world. And Connor Hughes is asking, Wayne, is it worth it canceling and rejoining? You know, I wouldn't do that because that's kind of gaming the system. But if you can ask, one thing you can do if you're already a member, Connor, is consider increasing your monthly donation by $10 just for 1 month, and that $10 can become $100. So just email finance@dxe.io, finance@dxe.io, and increase your donation by $10. Send an email. I'd like to increase my donation by $10, and that $10 will turn into $100. Jeanette Warren is asking, where do you donate, please? You can become a member by going to dxe.io/member7. Again, dxe.io/member7. So I'm hoping at least one other person can step up and say, I will become a member. Norma Jean is saying she's already a member. Thank you so much for that support, Norma. If you know anyone else who can help out, just send them that link and ask them to chip in even $1 a day. Jeanette Warren, if you sign up now, I can end this live stream. I'm hoping I can get one other person. Michelle Sitaro says she's joining. If I can get one more person to sign up or decide to increase their monthly membership by $10 or more. Connor Hughes, there we are. Connor, you are amazing. And Jennifer Lynn said yes too. Connor Hughes and Jennifer Lynn both said they're going to email finance@dxe.io, finance@dxe.io, and increase their monthly membership by $10 and get the $100 match. So thank you all very much. I hit my target. I got 3 people today, and we talked a little bit about this horrific incident that happened. It's not even one incident. It's multiple incidents happening in Southern California of people's animals being rounded up. And if you want to hear more about that, just share this live stream and watch the live stream from the beginning. I am going to cancel right now. Christina Romina is just asking for the donation link. I will post that right after I close the live stream. Okay, thank you all very much. I'm going to shut it down now.